Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Circle Chat. I'm your host, Abby, and I am so excited you're here with me. Today, I have a really special guest, Melanie Gordan, who's going to be chatting with us. But before I bring her on, I wanted to take a quick moment to let you know what the intention of this whole thing is. So what I wanted to do something really special in the beginning of this year. And so I committed to doing these things called Circle Chats, and they're going to happen at least once a month. Hopefully, if they gain popularity and people dig them, we'll do them more often. But the intention is to share inspirational stories from the hooping community. So we just want to chat openly. We want to talk about the hoop can be a healing mechanism, how it can help people transform their lives in really positive ways, whether it's weight loss, whether it's building community, whether it's healing from trauma. So that's really the intention of these circle chats. I have a transformational story with hooping, and I know Melanie does too. And so I'm really excited to chat with her. And I also want to leave this as an open invitation that if you happen to be watching and this art form has impacted you in a really positive way, get in touch, because as this whole thing continues to grow, I definitely am going to be featuring more people and sharing more really great stories from the hooping community. I'll also tell you before I bring her on, I thought about doing a podcast, but the thing that I didn't love about that is that it's just, the person and the presenter. This way, by doing it in webinar style, you can actually see us and we can interact. I've got the chat box open. So when you're watching this, you'll see the boxes over on the right. You can ask questions and we can engage with one another. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Melanie. Melanie's joining us from Colorado today, so she'll be on in just a sec. There she is.
Hi.
Hey, Melanie, I'm so happy you're here with me today. And thank you. Thank you for doing this and being the very first Circle Chat guest ever.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Good. Okay, so first off, because we've got people watching this who may not know you, so why don't you just introduce yourself? Where you're from, and tell us your hooping backstory. How'd you get into hooping?
Yeah, definitely. So, hi everybody. My name's Melanie, as Abby graciously introduced me as. I'm originally from California, but I moved out to Colorado for college about 7 years ago now. I went to University of Colorado, and I was introduced to hooping through one of my good friends brought a hula hoop to my, I think 19th or 20th birthday party, and she taught me how to do an isolation at my birthday, and I was just hooked.
So the isolation gotcha.
Yeah, and isolations are one of the harder tricks to learn, I think. So once I got that, I was like, okay, I'm in this. And then from there, hooping just kind of became sort of my thing. And I live in a city that definitely accepts and is influenced by the flow community. So there are a lot of hoopers here. There's already a pretty established hooping community. And so I've participated in a lot of hooping things at music festivals and stuff, but I really wanted to connect with the University of Colorado where I went to school, and kind of bring hooping there. So that was my goal, and why I did the training. I wanted to teach at the university.
Oh my gosh. And I'm so excited to chat more about that. So Melanie actually went through the last live teacher training we had, which was over the summer in Connecticut. And you flew out for the training, which was really cool. So it's so cool when people jump on planes to come and do the HoolaFit teacher training. It's awesome. Yeah. And you said from day one that was your intention. You wanted to start hooping classes at your college. And just tell everybody how, in just such a short amount of time, how those classes are going.
Yeah. So I started teaching in the middle of the fall semester. So I started in October. School had started in August. So I wasn't on any of the printed paper schedules that were in the rec center or the gym. But once I started in October, they put me online. So my class was listed online, but there wasn't a lot of marketing done for the class. But so the first class I had 2 people turn out, and I was honestly stoked on that. I was prepared for no one to come. And then I think just a combination of word of mouth, and I think the school had featured me on like their Instagram story, just saying like, hey, we have this new hooping class. It's super fun. So through my first like 6 or 7 classes from October till about the end of like December, the average turnout was like 6 or 7. And this is with like very little marketing. I wasn't on any of the schedules.
Yeah. And let's also chat about the fact that that's during like holiday break, and the slowest time for group fitness classes is usually like November, December. So you started when it was like, Yeah.
And just like in the middle of the semester. So there was very little like awareness of the class. So second semester of school just started, spring semester. And I was anticipating a lot more people coming to the class just because it was on the printed schedules that are around the gym and around school. And I was honestly a little bit nervous because the previous semester, I think the max number of people I had was about 7. And it was a lot because you need a large space. You know, hoops are big. People take up a lot of room hooping. So going into my first class of this second semester, I was like, all right, I kind of hope that like no more than 10 people come, because I want everybody to have a lot of room, and I like to, you know, make it more of like an intimate space. 23 people
Oh my
came.
gosh.
They happen to be all women, but it's, you know, obviously it was not catered just towards like a female class. So 23 girls showed up. And I got to class about 15 minutes early, and there was already like 15 girls in there. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited.
Your heart's like pounding.
And they all fit in the room well. You know, I just had to tell everybody to spread out. But it just blew up. I think a lot of people came from second semester with their friends, and they were just so excited to show their friends what hooping is and like what it can do. And I'm thinking about probably teaching twice a week now, just to, you know, split up the group. So there's not as much people in the one room, but it really just, it's soaring and everybody loves it. And the school really loves offering a fitness-based class that is including mindfulness, because I mean, mindfulness is sort of a buzzword, like moving meditation is sort of a buzzword. And like, we're all coming together as like a collective, realizing like the importance of mental health, and especially at places like university where there is a lot of like pressure on kids to do well in school and a lot of stress. So it's been really accepted with open arms.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. So I think, you know, when it comes to like building community, you've done such an amazing job of that in a short period of time, which is cool. And like we just said, you sort of launched it, which was we consider it a soft launch if it's happening in a time when it naturally for group fitness, it dips down, which is like around the holidays, you know, and then January, everybody's like ready to get fit, try something new. So it was actually kind of perfect. You got your feet wet for a couple months, and then you're also building your tribe, because people are like, okay, this is pretty awesome. I love it. You inspire them. They tell their friends. And then it like organically by January, now you're like killing it with your class numbers and adding more classes. I'm so inspired by that. I have to tell you guys, I was messaging with Melanie, and she said, she sent me a text and was like, yeah, I was digging through the storage closet at the school trying to get extra hoops because so many people showed up. So I thought that was really
hoop to use to teach class. If one more person had come, we wouldn't have even had enough hula hoops.
That is a really good problem to have, and I just love that. I love that. So can you tell us, like, how did hooping positively impact your life? Like, when did you decide that you wanted to start sharing the art form by becoming a teacher? When did it go from like a passion to like you want to teach? Well, and by the way, hi, Sarah, too. I saw Sarah's on. She just introduced herself. So hello, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction.
Hi, I would always kind of like teach my friends, whether they really asked for it or not. I'd be like, oh my God, you have to try this. Like, just try it. I promise, like, it'll make you feel good and you'll love it. You know, not forcefully, if they were receptive. So I always kind of was teaching like my friends and family. And I went through yoga teacher training before I did the HoolaFit training. And I didn't do my yoga teacher training to teach yoga. I just wanted to deepen my practice. But once I kind of gained like my teacher voice, and it became clear to me that teaching was something that I was really like gratified by and I felt called to do, I was like, I want to teach hooping. Like, you know, I love yoga, but it doesn't get like there's like a spark that hooping gives me that like it's a twinkle in my eye, you know?
Yeah.
And I figured that, you know, I wanted to make it official. I probably could have ended up teaching, maybe not at the university because they want really accredited people, but I may have been able to teach people hooping without doing the HoolaFit training, but I didn't feel like I would have had all of the tools to do it, and I wouldn't have felt like the confidence that, you know, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Like when I taught my first class this semester, there was 23 girls. It can be kind of like I'm a public speaker, and I'm also like I'm facilitating. I'm supposed to hold it. I'm not supposed to, but I try to cultivate a space in the classroom where people feel comfortable and safe to express themselves. And going through the training really like solidified in my mind the idea that I am capable of creating a space where people can, you know, like release emotions, try something new, like be uncomfortable. So I think it just kind of fell into my life. Like hooping was already in my life. Once I did my yoga teacher training and I realized I wanted to teach, it was like, oh my God, duh, I'm going to teach hooping.
Yeah. And what do you find about it is so different? Like, because I like to say teaching is just as much of an art as hooping itself. And so when we make that distinction, I do feel like you said, you're almost stepping on stage when you're an instructor. It is like a performance in a way, because we're not doing it for our own flow. Instead, we are single-handedly there to support our students and to support their learning and to facilitate breakthroughs that they get to experience. So, and how, you know, have you found that it's been really rewarding to watch your students shine and do stuff that they didn't think they were capable of?
100%. Yeah. And like speaking to the first part of what you posed, like it being its own art form, it really, the first class I ever taught, when I was done, it was like I came out of a flow state. And I was like, when the class was over, I was like, oh my God, I was flowing that whole time.
Yeah.
In a totally different way from hooping, but it was like in a similar vein of like when you're in a flow state hooping. Teaching is definitely a flow state. And can you remind me of the second part of that, of what you said?
Oh, just student breakthroughs, like when you get to see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last class of last semester, I did the game where we like circle up, and I was kind of like, I wanted it to be sentimental. I think I asked the class, I was like, do you guys want to have like 5 to 10 more minutes of flow time, or would you want to do a game? And they were like, well, you look like you want to do a game. And I was like, yeah, you know, they could just see it in my face. So I was like, okay, circle up. And as usual, we'll go in a clockwise formation. And if you could just like, you know, enter the circle, do like a funny hoop move, or like make a noise, or like say a word that comes to your brain. And then if you feel called to share, I would love to know, and I'm sure everyone would love to know, what hooping has done for you. I think I said what playing with the circle has brought you so far.
Right.
And I seriously could have cried with their responses. Just to name a few, so 3 or 4 of the women in that class last semester were in their mid-30s and they were doing grad school. And one of them got into the circle and she was just like, I haven't been bad at something in years. You know, I'm like the expert in my field. I know what I'm doing all the time. Like I'm never wrong. I'm never learning anything new. And coming here once a week, like I don't know how to hoop. And it's like gratifying, like not knowing how to do something, learning how to do it, and like being back in that like student mode, which even though she's in school as a student, she hadn't like been able to learn something, you know, so new, and like been kind of like just totally taken aback. They're like, wow, I don't know how to do this at all. And then another young woman said that she struggles with self-confidence. This is where I could have cried. She's like, I struggled with self-confidence my whole life, and hooping has given me confidence, and like confidence to just like be myself. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Another young woman said that she used to dance and then suffered an injury, nothing too traumatic, but an injury to where she wasn't able to continue like at the caliber of dance that she had been, and that hooping brought her like into a space where she could like explore her body and her movement in a dance form again, but like she had never used a prop and just felt like she could connect with a prop like she had never done. She always just used her body as the prop. But being able to explore one of her passions again, which she had neglected for years.
Yeah, I think that's so important what you said. I mean, for so many of us that do step into the role of becoming an educator with hooping, I think it's because we've experienced transformation ourselves, and then to be able to facilitate that through our students and watch them have those same revelations, it's absolutely incredible. And I think this is a perfect segue to the question we were chatting about before we jumped on today. I asked you, what was one of the most impactful hooping memories that you have? And I'm really grateful that you agreed to share this story because I think it's important.
Yeah. So that question, like, what is one of your favorite memory from hooping? My thought that comes to mind right off the bat isn't necessarily like we're saying, like, it's not like rainbows and puppies and unicorn and sunshine. It was kind of not like the most happy-go-lucky story, but this past summer I was camping with a group of friends, and a male I did not know sexually assaulted me, like very passively, and no one saw. And I was just kind of in shock, like, oh wow, did that really just happen? And I stepped away. We were all around a campfire. I stepped away from the campfire, and I brought my LED hoop, of course, because we're camping and that looks amazing at night. And I turned it on and like went out into this field, and I just started flowing. And it was the most like potent flow I think I've ever had. And like moves were just like clicking for me that never had. Not that it even matters what tricks I was doing, but I entered such a powerful flow space. And, after a few minutes I was like heaving. So I stopped and I just started like laughing alone in this field. And I was just like, this is why I do this. Like I completely like transmuted my sadness, hurt, frustration, anger into like, first of all, like an observable beauty, right? Like my girlfriends were watching me hoop and they were just like, that was the most amazing, like I've ever seen you hoop. And I was like, I know, I felt that. And I think it's because like, I just completely like alchemicalized emotion in my body into like a positive emotion.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I was just like laughing. I was like, I don't even care that just happened anymore. Like it put me back in my power. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment.
It helped you. Yeah. And then you could deal with what you had to deal with in that regard after. Cause I mean, I know you cared about it, but it was a way for you to just in that moment you had a release, and that's so powerful. I feel like so many people don't have a way to release pent-up emotions or things. Don't have a way, like once we have tools to deal with the things that are challenging and hard in life, then I mean those are major coping mechanisms, and to have a physical tool that we can turn to in those times that are really difficult, it's pretty powerful stuff. So I just want to honor you and thank you for sharing that story, because I know that's a tough thing to talk about, and but I think a lot of people can relate and probably really appreciate what you had to share there.
And like you said, it wasn't like I was just like over what happened. It was like, wow, whatever, but it was like it put me back in like that in my power. It reminded me like, hey, like things can happen to you. Things are going to happen to you throughout your whole life, but like you have the power to like react how you want to react, and you have the power to dictate like what has power over you, and I think you're totally right. Especially, I feel like men don't have the tools, be it like, like mental tools, or physical tools, like movement expression or like movement meditation, to be able to like deal with difficult emotions. But hooping, the main reason I think that I want to teach hooping is for those like intangibles. It's like, tricks are cool. It's great to help you lose weight. It's nice, like a moving meditation. It does, take you out of your head and, but it's straight up a healing tool.
It is. And I have to say, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to be the first guest here today too, because I'll share a little bit as well, since you've been so open. I lost somebody very, very close to me. And he took his own life, and he was 20 years old at the time. And I think about how it affected me and the years that followed, and had hooping entered my life when I was that age, or had I had a way to cope with those emotions. I mean, maybe I wouldn't struggled for as many years as I did with my own mental health. So I just, for you to be on a college campus and the changes that are happening in the demographic, the college age students, I feel like the stresses of everyday life, the stresses of, just the evolution of being that age, and just how life is unfolding. I just think it's so important to get hooping on more college campuses. And I love what you're doing. And the fact that, you've been able to build a community in such a short period of time is proof. Like, that's proof that how much people your age need it,
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of you. Like, I mean that genuinely. You're doing something huge. And I think it's just going to, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. There's we can both say so much. I feel like about the topic. So the Boulder community, as I was saying earlier, is not all about, but there is a very large flow arts community here. There's a lot of hoopers. There are a lot of flow troops. And it's very tied to a certain scene, the music scene, the festival scene. And I feel like my calling in this community is to get people into hooping who have never hooped before, and not to get them to learn a bunch of cool tricks and fire hoop at a festival. And but it's teaching people who don't know how to hoop just basic, just to get them into a flow state. So I'm almost hitting a demographic in this heavily saturated community that's totally not saturated at all. Because I'm not trying to teach people who are already proficient at hooping intense hooping tricks. I'm trying to teach people in the community who may have seen hoops around and know what they are, just how to connect with their bodies, and I feel even I was kind of intimidated teaching hooping in this community because it is so saturated. But I was able to find that the people that, and the people that I want to target for the reason that I want to teach hooping, it's not saturated. Because, it's I want to introduce hooping to people who are not interested in, being a flow artist at a music festival, just to your average person.
Yeah.
Because it is such a great mechanism for anybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're bringing up so many memories too. Of I remember when I first started, I was embarrassed to take my hoop out in public. I was only doing it because it made me feel good. I didn't care about the tricks. I never intended to become a performer. It's just, I think about all of that, and it's true. I mean, people show up at class for different reasons, and that's the beautiful thing. There's enough for everybody when it comes to sharing this art form. We can share it in different ways to different communities, to different demographics, and that's what it's all about. I feel like if hooping has impacted our lives in positive ways, why not share it? Why not help other people and facilitate that transformation in them too? So I just really honor you for what you're doing and the people you're reaching. It's true. I'm amazed by you, Melanie.
Oh my gosh. Seriously. Wow.
Okay. Well, I was we talked beforehand too. I'm I've got all these questions I'm going to ask, but I wanted it to be free flowing because I know you and I can just chat forever organically. So I'm kind of ditching the questions, but just basically, my next thing I wanted to ask though is, what advice would you give to somebody who is a passionate hooper that maybe wants to be a teacher, but doesn't, I get a lot of people say I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm passionate about it, but I don't know if teaching is for me. What would you tell those people? If they have fear around it,
So I met a girl through my hooping class that goes to the university that I used to go to. But I met her in my hooping class, and she's the only student that's come that has experience hooping. So she showed up to class with a small reflective hoop. And we became friends. And she was over at my house last night, and she was like, look, okay, I love hooping. I've only been hooping for a year, but I'm so passionate about it. And I was like, I know, like I just met you, but like I can feel, see, and like hear your passion for hooping. And she was like, I think I want to teach too. And I was like, you should do the training I did, and like talked it up. And she was like, and I told her that I was doing this interview today. And she was like, well, like, are you just saying that because you're doing the interview? And I was like, girl, no. Like, I would not, like, I don't endorse things that I'm not like actually genuinely behind. And I was like, I would not be telling you to do this teacher training if I didn't think that it would help you immensely on your way to becoming a teacher if that's what you want to do. Yeah. And she's only been hooping for a year. And I was like, that doesn't matter. This training will teach you everything that like you need to know to teach people tricks that you don't even know how to do, tricks that you don't know how to do, And I think, so what I would tell those people is that they should do the HoolaFit training because it gives you all of the skills to like know how to be a teacher, to cultivate the space, to like know how to set up a class structure so that you're giving people like a well-rounded class. No one's going to end up injured. Yeah. I mean, I think that you could go out into the world and teach hooping. If you're afraid, like there's no sense in like being afraid to do something you want to do. I think like there's like this, it's like a saying, like it's not a saying, I guess it's just like that fear and like nervousness and anxiety is just a different form of the same feeling, which is just excitement. So like you can transform that fear into excitement. But for me, like I would say like I've suffered from imposter syndrome my whole life. So I was like, I know that I'll be more confident in teaching if I do a training, So if someone has any doubts in me, I'm like, well, you shouldn't doubt me because I went through this training and like I have, I have the wherewithal to teach, and like there's no doubt about that, right?
Well,
so I was just doing the training.
Thank you so much for like the glowing endorsement of HoolaFit. So I promise you guys, I didn't tell her to say any of that. I appreciate that very much. But I also really want people to understand I did the same thing as you. I never stepped foot in front of a group of people and started teaching without my Hoop Girl certification. So I like to, for those that don't know, in many ways, HoolaFit is an evolution of the Hoop Girl program. So me and Cassandra were the co-creators of HoolaFit. We came up from Christabel, which is like any old school hoopers out there probably remember Hoop Girl and the Hoop Girl workout. But that was my first fitness certification ever. And now I hold 7 different fitness certifications and I teach 4 different modalities now. And I'm constantly trying to further my education because the main thing I want people to realize is that it is so different than just hosting like a flow jam. Go out, trick share, do that all day long. I say, like, get this art form out in every way that you can. The main thing is that when we're booking a venue and people are paying to come to class, there's a different level of responsibility that comes with that. And so that's kind of, I just want to make sure people are teaching this in a really safe and effective way. And that's kind of why the program was born, after years of trial and error and other, certifications and fitness studies and research and all of that stuff behind it. So,
yeah. Well, in addition, like I learned how to properly teach things. Like I learned that I actually wasn't even doing a few things properly in my own hooping practice, like in my own hoop dance. And I certainly don't want to be teaching people how to do something incorrectly. Right. So like just at the base level, it's like you need to learn how to teach people how to do things correctly. And you may not, be doing them because there's a million. I feel like since like a circle is like the basis of everything. Like there's infinite amount of like shapes that it can make and like tricks that you can do with a circle. But there are like proper ways to do things too.
Yeah.
So, for sure. I think that you could teach people like how to hula hoop. But you may not be teaching them like correctly.
Yeah, in terms of injury prevention and all of that stuff. I know
and
it's
doing
so true.
Both sides of your body and stuff.
Yes, and just things like how to warm participants up and, lead cool down exercises and make sure there's a flow to the classes like you were talking about. There's a flow to the format. And so that's, I mean, I know we could talk forever about this and we do, and that's why we have the training. So I just, want to thank you again for your kind words about the program. And is there anything else that you wanted to share in general about hooping or about the community or anything that surprised you after you started teaching? Any teaching breakthroughs?
So I know for sure that like I'm gonna run with this.
You already are.
Like and I'm the type of person to like just I go with the flow with a lot of things, and like I just trust that if I'm like following my heart and like making the right decisions, you know, like being a good person, that like things will sort of fall into place. So I want to like get really confident in the one class that I'm teaching at the CU Boulder Rec Center. But I've already had people ask me to teach at their studios. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do that. But I just want to, you know, like get comfortable. I don't want to like overwhelm myself. But this has just opened up like a portal for me that's like opening my eyes. Like I totally, like you, have the opportunity to like make a living off of something that I'm passionate about. And it's almost like hard to believe that, you know? And so I guess this just is slowly showing me that like hooping is my passion, and like teaching it has come into my life for a reason, and I can open up, you know, like a lot of doors from it, and it's really exciting.
It is. And girl, I can't wait to reconvene with you a couple years from now and to see, you know, you've already done so much in 6 months that I can't even imagine a couple years down the road when, you know, maybe this is your full-time job. It's definitely happened. We've got a few full-timers with HoolaFit now, and it's really cool to watch those communities be built and the lives are changed. And, you know, that's another thing in terms of the intention with the circle chats is I want to feature students too. I want to have people come on, not just our instructors and just people from the hooping community in general that have those great stories to share. So Sarah was just mentioning to her sponsor from Hoop Mamas, trained with Hoop Girl too. That's awesome. I know Christabel trained a lot of great hoop instructors, and I love to give credit where credit's due. She's the one who got me into teaching to begin with, and now this is my life, and I get to pass it on and train other beautiful people like you, Melanie. So if anyone has questions, we have a few people that are on the line right now. Feel free to type them into the chat box. We'll give it another minute or two. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and inspiring so many.
Yeah, of course. I'm more than happy to sit here and talk with you. And like, there's never any like, I don't have to like, you know, like sell anything. Like people like see my passion for hooping, and it's just like they gravitate towards it. You know, like if you have a passion for something, it just like everything comes naturally. And also the HoolaFit community, also like the Facebook group, once you after I did the training, that has just been like a great resource for me. The HoolaFit Forward Facebook page, being able, like I think I hopped on there a few times before my classes started, and I was like, you know, asking for just help, like what should I name the class? What are some good moves to teach beginners? So that has just been like a really, really great place to come when I need support from the hooping community, from HoolaFit.
Good. You know, and as we continue to grow, that community is just going to keep getting bigger, and our instructors will continue to support each other. So Sarah says, thank you so much for sharing your story. So happy for the both of you, and can't wait to share my passion with others as well. This is so inspiring. Yay. That was our intention. Yay. We wanted to inspire you. It's working, Melanie. We did our jobs. Well, thank you so much, girl. Thanks for everybody who joined us today. And for everyone who's watching this on the replay, get in touch with me. You can find me through the HoolaFit website, or I will, you know, I'm going to set up a special email address specifically for the circle chats. Just get in touch. You can do that through the HoolaFit Facebook page if you want to. And if you have important, great, inspirational stories to share, we want to hear them and consider featuring you in a future episode. So I'm just talking to the general community. Melanie, you're amazing. Thank you again for everything. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon and hear how those second and third and fourth classes are going.
Yes. Thank you as always. Just for I wouldn't be here without you. So.
Oh my gosh, you're a sweetheart. All right, girl. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you again soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.